I'm Linda Elsegood, founder of the LDN Research Trust. It has been my honour to interview LDN researchers, prescribers, pharmacists and patients from around the world for many conditions. Thank you for joining us.
Today we are joined by Diana from the United Kingdom, who takes LDN for primary progressive MS. Thank you for joining me, Diana.
Okay.
Could you tell us when you first noticed that there was something wrong with you?
Yes, it was January 2010. I'd gone to pick my daughter up from the airport. My husband had driven. I was in the passenger seat, and I went to get out, and my left leg wouldn't move properly. And I thought it's cramp or something, but it started dragging, and it sort of didn't really recover much. So I went, saw a doctor who said I need to see a physio, and I saw the physio who said this is not for me, it's neurological, which was good that he sort of spotted that. So it was about February 2010 when I saw a neurologist who then said, right, we're going to give you an MRI, which they did from my waist down. And I come back and they said they couldn't see anything. But I was still having problems. So then I went and saw another neurologist who's at the same hospital who said, right, we're going to give you another MRI, which they did from the neck down. And nothing really showed except for the usual wear and tear on the back. And then they said, no, you need another MRI, which was on the brain. And that's when they said, oh, you've got lesions on your brain. And I got the letters telling me I had demyelination, which I'd not heard of.
Demyelination. Mm-hmm.
Demyelination, yeah, thank you. And obviously they said, oh, well, that's MS, multiple sclerosis. And I was like, it's really weird because I didn't know about it, but you talk to everybody else and they do. As soon as they say MS. So then they said to prove it, we need to give you a lumbar punch. So this is by now June 2010. So I had a lumbar punch and they said, yes, it's definitely MS. And then they asked me about the history previous to my diagnosis, and it turned out that I possibly had it for years. Because back in 1982, I was having problems where they told me I had temporal lobe epilepsy. Mm-hmm. I never had a fit, but I used to get these really weird sensations where I couldn't speak properly, and my stomach would blow, and I couldn't cope. I had 2 children by then, and I was under the London hospital, the neurology hospital up in Holborn, and they told me I had temporal lobe epilepsy and put me on phenytoin, and then I had to come off that because I fell pregnant with my daughter in 1984 and went on to Tegretol, which I stayed on for quite a few years because they still was insisting that's probably what it was. Mm-hmm. And then I went back in about a couple of years after my daughter was born and saw another person up there who said, oh, no, you've got stomach migraine. Come straight off the Tegretol. Come off the Tegretol, not straight off it. Come off the Tegretol. So I did. And between 86 and 2010, I had a few episodes of this sensation where I couldn't cope. My functioning, my eyes would go funny. My words would slur and everything. And because I just thought, oh, they've told me what it is, I'm not going back down that route, I just put up with it. But it was every so many months. It wasn't all the time. Mm-hmm. Until 2010, obviously, when this thing with my leg happened and I was getting the weird sensations where it felt like I was having bits of wood were attaching themselves to me, and I was having like running water was all running down my leg. and my feet, as they still are now, totally numb. And it just carried on from there, really. And so first of all, they said I had relapsing remitting MS. They put me on gabapentin, and but every time I went back, that's what they told me the first time. It was relapsing remitting. And then when I went back and saw a neurologist, I think it was about 3 months later, they said, no, you're not relapsing remitting because it hadn't gone away. Mm. You're primary progressive. And then they said that I should take this Rebif, where you inject yourself, which I thought, well, if it's going to help, I will try anything. I don't like this. This is awful because I was beginning to not function. I've got grandchildren. And so I did the Rebif. I did it for 2 weeks. It was terrible. I was so ill on it, plus the fact I bruised everywhere. But they said you might get flu-like symptoms, and that's what I had constantly. For the whole 2 weeks, I was really ill, so I said, I'm not doing that. And then they said, well, you don't. And then when I went back again, she said, well, you shouldn't have been put on it because you've got primary progressive MS, and it's not going to help anyway. So she shrugged her shoulders. By then, I'd met up with some other MS people, and one of them said to me, have you heard of LDN? I said, no, what is it? She said, I take it. I found it very beneficial. So once again, I went to my doctor who said, no, you can't have it because it's not licensed here. So I said, well, I'm going to have it. She gets it. So I pay for it from Dixon's. Is it Dickinson's, the chemist in Scotland? Mm-hmm. Dixon's, yeah. And from that day, I still have my moment. Obviously, I'm still constantly got this where my legs feel numb and dead and I can't walk very far. But it's allowed me to keep working. So I do work 3 days a week. I teach adults with mental illness and that, IT. Mm-hmm. But I can get up and I can do my job 3 days a week and be able to look after my grandchildren. The only thing I will say, I did. I started off at 1.5 and I was on 3 milligrams, but I was finding that I was having really bad episodes. If I was taking it every day, I don't know if this makes sense to anybody. So I cut it down. That what I do now, I take, and also better if I take it in the morning. I've been doing little tests on myself, and I found that what has worked for me now, I take one every other day at 7 o'clock in the morning, 3 milligrams.
Right.
And that has worked for me better than if I was taking it every day. Mm-hmm. I don't take anything else now because I've also gone, I don't know if this has anything to do with this, but I've also gone down the homeopathic route. So I only take gabapentin and LDN now. Mm-hmm. And I'm, touch wood, feeling a lot better than I have done for ages in myself. My MS, I still struggle. I couldn't say I could. I use a stick, and I couldn't walk from one end of my high street to the other. I can only do one shop at a time. But mentally and more focused, I do feel this is LDN. And I'll tell you why as well, because I did come off it for 2 weeks because I wasn't well. I had a virus, and I thought, so I wasn't functioning very well. I come off of it, and I felt the fatigue was terrible. And so I do feel, as soon as I went back on it, the fatigue is a lot better.
Well, that's a good result.
It is a good result, and the other friend that takes it, who's sort of at my stage, a little bit further on with her MS actually, she's a bit older than me, and she's had it for longer. She also swears by it, and she only takes that and gabapentin and a couple of other things she's taking, but I don't know what they are. Mm-hmm. But through her, I'm I'm glad I found it, and I've recommended it to other people. So, I really like. I've gone. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, it's a very good story.
Yeah. I just wish that all those years ago that maybe somebody had knew that I had it. I don't know, because there is no cure for MS. There's no answer. They don't know what the cause is. So I don't know. I don't know where. But if there is something like LDN that can help it, I am going to stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it, really. In the homeopath, I think that's a lot of that's mind over matter, but I don't care. If I'm feeling better, I don't care. I will try anything.
What would you say to other people with primary progressive MS who are thinking of trying LDN?
Oh, yeah, definitely. They've got to try it. I've got to try it. I mean, my friend gets hers. Her doctor gives her hers. Mine won't. Point blank refuses. Which, But then he didn't want to give me vitamin D because it was going to cost him £10 a month. So why would he pay for LDN if he doesn't have to? It's his every right to say, it's not licensed, so he can't give it to you.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your story with us. I really do appreciate it, Diana.
Okay, thank you. Well, I hope it has been of benefit.
Do you have LDN experience to share? If so, please email me, linda@ldnrt.org. I look forward to hearing from you.